Football fans, what's going on? Thanks for checking out the 6th installment of Rob K's Corner of the End Zone, featuring another very special guest and highly touted football coach. Last week, we dove into the college ranks to hear from Florida State Seminoles offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach Kenny Dillingham. This week, we're traveling, figuratively of course, out to the West Coast, where we'll revisit a conversation I had a little more than a week ago with a coach who I've always greatly admired. A guy who I believe played a crucial role in putting Arizona high school football on the map, and has since become a masterful recruiter and special teams coordinator in the Pac-12 Conference. I never had the privilege of playing for him at the high school level, but he did wind up playing an instrumental role in my recruitment and decision to play inside linebacker for the University of Arizona. He tells it like it is and carries himself with a confidence and a swagger that you simply don't often encounter. Joining my Corner of the End Zone this week is Chaptown legend, former Sun Devil and Wildcat assistant, and current special teams coordinator at the University of California-Berkeley, Coach Ragle. Coach Ragle has built his heart and soul and reputation on one thing: relationships. His coaching career was founded with the help of people he shared a mutual respect for, and he has never lost sight of the importance of those friendships.
I think in order to have success, it's all about people first and investing in people in those relationships. And when you do that, it's going to pay its way forward tenfold.
Raised by two terrific parents in Playas, New Mexico, now an unincorporated town of fewer than 100 people, Ragle said he quickly saw parallels between the realities of life and his hard-earned success on the football field.
Just working with people of all different, beliefs, races, from different backgrounds, socioeconomics. That's why I believe in my heart it's the greatest team sport there is, because we're all fighting for that one common goal.
So after starring at Eastern New Mexico, where he played running back and return kickoffs from 94 to 97, it was an easy decision to swap out his cleats for a whistle. And those lessons learned from his mother and father, and blood, sweat, and tears years prior, are still of the utmost importance.
That, first and foremost, keeps me going every day, because I know you can teach the game of life through the game of football. I think football is a vital tool for the success of young people all across this country.
After spending half a decade assisting in the football program's revival at Moon Valley High School in Phoenix, Arizona, Coach Ragle leveled up to join Ron Estabrook's premier staff at Chaparral. After one season as defensive coordinator, he leveled up again, joining Arizona State as a graduate assistant. But when Sun Devils head coach Dirk Cutter was fired in 2006, Ragle was on the outside looking in, and he opted to bet on himself by returning to lead the charge for the Firebirds.
I just had a real conversation with myself. If I ever wanted to aspire to climb back to the college level, I was going to have to put a product on the field that was something that they hadn't seen before. And Chaparral obviously had a good foundation, winning some state championships early in the 2000s. But I knew that we were going to have to take it to new levels.
60-plus wins, single-digit losses, each of which he told me he remembers all too well, and 3 consecutive state championships later, and Coach Ragle was primed for a return to the college ranks. Except this time, he was headed down south to the old Pueblo.
My years of coaching high school football were invaluable. I mean, and I loved every minute of it. It was a special place, both Moon Valley and Chaparral, in the times that I had there.
Circling back to the relationships he holds near and dear to his heart, Ragle transitioned from the high school level to Power 5 football seamlessly. He instantly made a name for himself on the Wildcat staff as Assistant Director of Football Operations, specializing in connecting high school players and coaches, specifically from the Valley, to an era of exciting football in Tucson, through camps, clinics, and conversations. He was later named Special Teams Coordinator and Tight Ends Coach, and his massive impact on U of A's program became irrefutable.
Rich Rodriguez said something when I worked for him that I still recite to this day. If you want to be a good college player and you want to get recruited at a high level, be a really good high school player. In turn, if you want to get to the NFL, be a really good college player.
Now, approaching his 4th season at Cal, Coach Ragle still utilizes many of the same recruiting skills that helped attract quality football players to the desert. But the difference in standards is undeniable. Qualifying to become a Golden Bear requires a special kind of young man, Ragle said. It's a matter of fact, different universities view winning on the recruiting trail, well, differently. By Cal standards, stars and rankings don't always translate to success. A strong work ethic, attitude, and intellect are viewed to be more valuable.
The thing for us is identifying, finding, and getting those type of young men to commit to our program. And then we know once they get here that we are going to expose them to a lot of things, not just socially and emotionally, but the full gamut from an academic standpoint to an athletic standpoint. And above all, we're going to develop them as young men and players. And we know, because of our early identification that the majority of them are going to be successful and end up with a great degree and be a big-time football player here in Cal.
Those exceptional standards are applied to Coach Ragle's special teams room as well.
I also want young men that don't fancy themselves just as specialists. I want them, to classify themselves as a football player. I want a certain mentality out of them.
He's talking about guys with a competitive spirit and fiery drive that easily rubs off on one another. What he's learned, like most other special teams coordinators across the country, is that there's an influx of Australian-born kickers and punters who have what it takes to make their mark in the NCAA. Players like 2020 mid-year enrollee Jamison Sheehan, who compete for the Golden Bears starting punter role.
It goes back to the mentality. When you play Aussie rules football, those guys are jumping up, trying to bat down balls. They're actually making tackles. I think that's why you've seen the explosion on the college scene with so many Australian punters and the success that they've had.
In terms of Cal's outlook on the Pac-12's recently adopted conference-only schedule, Coach Ragle says the team's cup is certainly more than halfway full. The impact of losing 3 defensive cogs in linebacker Evan Weaver and safeties Ashton Davis and Jalen Hawkins will be felt. But
you can't put a price on a returning quarterback and experience, regardless of the schemes that you're on. Those are 2 things that you have to acknowledge, and those are going to be beneficial for us. They should be.
The Golden Bears offense will look almost identical, name-wise, and benefit from the arrival of longtime NFL coordinator Bill Musgrave. And the defense will be reared and ready to go, thanks in part to head coach Justin Wilcox, who has evolved into one of college football's greatest motivators.
When you talk about Coach Wilcox, you first have to talk about the person that he is. He's very intense, and he demands you to be at your best. He's not going to micromanage you. It's not his style. He expects you to be a professional, show up and do your job.
Coach Ragle couldn't be more grateful to continue honing his own craft under the tutelage of one of the Pac-12's fastest rising stars.
It's been absolutely awesome to work for him, and I think he's growing and getting better every day, as we all are, but you can see the strides he continues to make as a head coach.
Which is a great sign, because outstanding leadership is more imperative than ever in today's socially distant climate. Coach Ragle knows the circumstances created by COVID-19 are far from perfect for anybody, but he's not backing down from the challenges on the horizon.
Just have to trust that there's a greater plan in place, and I know right now, man, those words probably ring hollow on a lot of people's ears. That's not what they want to hear, but what other options do we have?
He puts it simply:
if you're not taking this current opportunity to get better wherever you're at, you're missing an opportunity to be great down the road.
Most importantly, his message to his players: focus on the now.
You can't get too caught up in looking too far down the road, because you're going to get tripped up on the day-to-day minutia. So I think that the young people have to continue to focus on today, being the best that they can.
And when normalcy does return, Coach Ragle will be ready to move full steam ahead and make more memories that will last a lifetime. Like Cal's first win in 3 tries over their biggest rival, a feat that took 10 years to achieve but will never be forgotten.
Watching those fans come out of the stands there at Stanford and seeing the emotion on their face. Grown folks crying. It gives me goosebumps right now, man. It was the perfect scene of what college football is really about. And people that understand that and love college football know exactly what I'm talking about. It was a magical moment, and will be a magical moment for the rest of my life, etched in my brain. It was awesome. And it's truly why you work all those months for moments like that. It was so special.
Make no mistake, Coach Ragle says he's loving every second of his time in Berkeley. He's committed to adapting, adjusting, and elevating his game each year, and setting a standard of excellence for everybody under his roof. But old and new relationships could eventually steer him back to the place where his coaching career launched. After all, that's what he's built his heart and soul and reputation on. He's a people person through and through.
Desert will always hold a special place in mine and my family's heart. Having both my kids be born there in Scottsdale, and my time both at Arizona and Arizona State are special, and it's a special place for me, for sure.
I was always a bit jealous I wasn't afforded the opportunity to play for one of Chaparral's teams coached by Ragle, but I will forever be grateful that our paths crossed during my freshman year of college. He's the type of coach and person that you could learn from just by the way he interacted with others, and I have no doubt in my mind that he's consciously paving a path to some head coaching job in the future. The Sonoran Desert would be incredibly lucky if that path led Ragle to bring his talents back to the Grand Canyon State. Until next time, you know the drill. Reach out to me and let's connect.